Hey guys! In today's video, I wanted to show you all of my favorite art supplies for both pencil drawings, for watercolors, and for sketchbooks. And first off, I just wanted to say this video is not sponsored because I think a lot of people might assume that since I'm talking about products I like that some of these may be sponsored, but nope, these are just products I really like and I think you will enjoy too if you like my style and the kind of effects I do in my artwork. So for pencil drawings, my favorite kind of paper is Strathmore 400 series marker paper, and it's kind of weird because it is a marker paper, but I love it for pencil drawings because it's similar to Bristol board, but it's a little bit thinner and much smoother than Bristol board, and the reason I like it is that pencil glides on it and helps to achieve both long flowy lines as well as very smooth shading. With a lot of the pencils that I'm going to be saying that I like, I can achieve very smooth gradients for shading, and that is the reason I really like with paper. In no particular order, my favorite pencils are the Derwent Graphite pencils. I like this 7B pencil, but the 12 pack of soft pencils is great. The lines are super creamy and dark, so that's why I like this pencil. The General's Kimberly drawing pencils are excellent for keeping a sharp point, and I love them for thin and delicate lines. They are not extremely dark, however, so I usually use them for thumbnails or alongside these other pencils as well. By contrast, the Prismacolor Ebony pencil is a super soft, super dark graphite pencil. It's great for really rich, dark strokes, and so my drawing professor made me use this for newsprint just because regular pencil would not pick up on newsprint as well, but I do like this pencil for extremely dark regions in my drawings. Lastly, my go-to pencil for this paper and for sketching in general is the Staples Postscript mechanical pencil, which is really random because it is not a drawing pencil, but it can achieve delicate marks as well as smooth shading. I really like it. It's kind of soft and creamy. For erasers, at the moment I'm just using cap erasers because you can just put them on a mechanical pencil or a regular pencil and go and you don't lose them. I keep losing my regular erasers, so these have been working out fine for me, especially for this paper, but they do leave behind eraser dust. So if you want to avoid eraser dust, I highly recommend kneaded erasers. These can be molded into whichever shapes you want to. And as you can see, this one is super old, but I do have a cleaner one as well. They're perfect for picking up marks on the paper without leaving dust behind. But just like with any eraser, if you rub too hard, they will eat up the paper, so be careful of that. For light sketches for marker or watercolor pieces, I use the Prismacolor Color Erase pencil in terracotta for lighter pieces, and the Tuscan Red pencil for darker skin tones or pieces with darker tones. They erase pretty well and they blend well with markers and watercolors, and the reason people use colored pencils for pieces like marker and watercolor pieces is just because they meld with the colors of your piece rather than adding like a gray tone that would make the piece muddy the way graphite would. So they blend very well with the colors that you're going to be applying later. My favorite fine liners that work amazingly with this paper are the Pilot High-Tech C pens. I use these a lot for Inktober and I still use them for every one of my Patreon coloring pages. They glide perfectly on this paper, they do not skip, and they can create these really long, beautiful, smooth lines, as well as, combining them for marker pieces or sometimes even for watercolor pieces, but since they are such a fine tip, I don't really use them for cold press paper since it will skip and it's not going to pick up that well. I don't use markers too much anymore, but the one marker that gets an honorable mention is E04. It's this beautiful dusty pink. I love this color. It's kind of an inside thing with a lot of my art friends that E04 is the best marker out there, so the one marker I will recommend is the E04. For adding details to marker or watercolor pieces, I like to use the Prismacolor Premier pencils, so I'm just going to be showing you a couple of my different favorite colors. These are my favorite colors. The reason that I like these ones specifically are because they're amazing for skin tones and for earthy tones, and I really like these like raspberry pinks and these browns. The Prismacolor Premier pencils are super soft and creamy, and they can add a good texture to your drawings as well, but I do like them because they will add a sort of a cohesive finished look to my marker drawings, so I definitely recommend all of these colors. For sharpeners, I do use mechanical sharpener just because it does the job for me and it collects all the shavings. I do not like the open sharpeners that, you know, you have all the shavings on your desk and then you have to clean up and you have graphite everywhere. But if I am on the go, I'm going to be using the Prismacolor Scholar Sharpener. It's okay. It's not amazing. It does collect the eraser shavings, and it came with the ebony pencil when I bought it, so it's okay. I don't mind it. It does have like a really sharp blade. Yeah. For white highlights, I like the Uniball Signo gel pen for thick, opaque white highlights, but I will also use the Jelly Roll gel pen for like a little bit more transparent, thinner and more delicate little white highlights. For watercolor paper, I'm still gonna say that my favorite paper is the Canson XL watercolor paper. I've tried a lot of papers and I have a lot of Arches watercolor paper. Too much. I'm never gonna use it all. But this is still one of my favorite papers. It is one of the most inexpensive papers out there. It is thick, it is cold pressed, which I really love cold pressed paper. With my techniques, it does not lift up the pulp of the paper, so I definitely recommend it for that. My favorite watercolors are the Kuretake Gansai Tombi watercolors, even though they're not traditional Western watercolors. And the reason that I really like these is because of how creamy and luxurious these are, as well as the way they lift. I really like that they lift deliberately, but not whenever you're just applying different layers and different washes to your paper. So the reason that I'm not a huge fan of Western watercolors is because they settle differently than I would like them to settle on the paper, and it's not that they're bad, it's just for my style or for my watercolor preferences at the moment. I do really enjoy the Kuretake Gansai Tombi set. A good thing about these is that some of the colors are opaque and some of them are more like semi-opaque, transparent-ish. The nice thing about the 36 color set is that in general, mixing this kind of watercolor might create a little bit of more of a muddy color, and so having this many colors available to choose from is going to help you have like the most beautiful pure color and shade that you can find. But yeah, these are my favorite ones. My favorite little mixing palette is going to be the 7 Well Porcelain palette. It's small and easy to clean. That's all I gotta say. It's simple. I recommend it. For brushes, I use an assortment of water brushes and regular brushes. I love the Pentel Aquash water brush in fine for delicate and controlled lines, and I do use the water brush in medium for building up values in the face and the hair. So those are two very solid water brushes that I recommend. I do also enjoy the Arteza water brushes, and I use a variety of them. I will just say a disclaimer, these are not perfect. Sometimes they leak, and the water control is not that amazing. It's not as good as the Pentel Aquash brush, but I still really enjoy these, and I think that I can get a lot of interesting marks out of these, especially because they are imperfect. So if you do like water brushes and you are willing to try a different kind of water brush, I definitely recommend these ones. For real brushes, I love the Treacle Golden Taklon brushes. So I would explain which ones I use for which, but at the same time, it's not like you're necessarily going to use them for the same things. So all I'm going to say is I use the rounds for layering a lot of watercolors, so the thicker, larger rounds I'm going to use for layering washes on the face, on the hair, and adding, you know, details on the skin and all that kind of stuff. I will use the brights for blocking in shapes or just adding chunkier textures to the piece, and the one filbert I don't use too much for watercolors, I'm going to admit that, but it has a beautiful round point and it is useful for adding smooth layers. A thinner round brush is good for detailing. That's all I gotta say. I just really like the quality of these brushes because they do hold tons and tons and tons of water in them, and they are great quality. They keep their point and they feel very nice in your hand. Lastly, for lining watercolor pieces, I use the Copic Gauss Fude brush pen. It offers lots of control with line weight and can make thin and delicate lines that do not skip on the paper, which is really impressive because it is a cold press paper and the lines just never skip. I definitely recommend the Gauss Fude brush pen. My current sketchbook is a really good one. I like this a lot. It's the Pentalic Traveler Draw Pocket Journal. It's a long name. The paper is beautiful and a creamy off-white, and it's super smooth. So as you can tell, I really like smooth papers for drawing and markers and all that kind of stuff. It handles markers okay other than the bleeding that comes to the other side. Another sketchbook that I would really recommend if you are kind of a beginner to sketchbooks and you do not want to spend a lot of money on a sketchbook and then you're going to be afraid to put failure all over the pages, is the Canson Basic Sketchbook. just because it's inexpensive and it's got a ton of pages. Okay, that was my huge, long favorite art supplies haul. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos, because I put out new videos every single Sunday. I will see you then. Bye bye.